are keen to invest so that they can grow their money. However, some of them end up putting their money in the wrong hands, even while there are legitimate investment tools to use. To talk about this, we're joined by Mmatli, who is financial planner at Oracle Brokers. Good afternoon to you and welcome.
Afternoon, Colin, and to your viewers.
I would like us to start off our discussion with the psycho-emotive factors of retrenchment. You know, most of the time when people are retrenched, they go through pain and they become depressed as they are hurt because of this unfortunate circumstance. However, you know, in one of the stories that I covered, there was one gentleman who received 7 million rand severance package. And I had expected him to go out smiling all the way to the bank, but he went outside and he cried at the parking lot. So what really happens when there are mixed emotions concerning receiving money when you are being retrenched and having to deal with the reality of how you're gonna spend it?
I mean, first of all, when somebody is retrenched, right, it is a life-changing event. So when we look at people's lives, examples of life-changing events is the first thing when somebody gets a job, when somebody gets married, when somebody retires, and retrenchment is the most significant one of all because it strips an individual of the power of choice. So it's not somebody who's deciding to resign from their job. It's not somebody who's voluntary making an effort to withdraw that pension fund. Hence, that person that you saw in the parking lot with the 7 million feeling absolutely devastated. And perhaps maybe that 7 million is not sufficient to sustain him for the rest of his life. So his salary, for example, might be 700,000 per annum. So he's looking that this is going to sustain me not even for 10 years. What am I going to do if that money runs out or once that money runs out? So it's not a nice thing to be told you have to go and it's not your choice.
Yeah, well, I can tell that, you know, from the picture that you are painting, that it doesn't matter how much you have been earning, whether low, middle or high income, it is devastating to be retrenched. I mean, like we've seen tears all over the place. Now, when one gets the money, what's the first thing to do? What is the most crucial action that one must take before they touch a single cent?
I think one, getting the money, right? It's too late by then. So HR will probably there's a process with every single company where they will give people the benefit statement and people will know what to expect. So before one even signs the withdrawal documents from the pension or provident fund or the withdrawal documents for that severance package, I think it's very important that you sit with a financial advisor or a financial professional so you understand the implications of that money. So going back to your example of the guy with the 7 million, the money that he will receive in his hands is not 7 million. So severance money is taxed, right? And there are different tax brackets in how this money is taxed. And there's also tax efficient ways in which you can preserve the money when you do get it. So it's not an exciting moment to say, once I get the money, I will make a decision, because by then it will be too late. By then it would have gone through SARS. By then you would have had made decisions already. So before you sign, have an objective, have a goal, look at your financial needs, and then make a decision as to how you will be withdrawing that money.
Most of us as ordinary workers are not really financially literate, and we do listen to advice, and we are usually told, don't put your money in one basket, you must diversify. But there will be those people who will be given advice to separate their investments so that they can have money they can access, and the other being a long-term investment. However, we do see unfortunate circumstances, even though people have been advised. How does one get scammed even when they have been careful? And I really don't want to blame workers or ex-workers, but sometimes it happens that they've been scammed and they never knew that it would happen.
Knowledge is power. So before anybody makes a decision to invest money, so you have to ask the right questions, right? So all investment or all financial services company are regulated by the Financial Services Board, and there are certain procedures that have to be followed by advisors, by investment specialists before money can be transferred, before a transaction can happen. So it's called an introduction. In a letter of introduction, there has to be things like an FSP number. There has to be things like you are registered with the Financial Services Board, so that you need to be able to know that if anything happens to your investment, you can have somebody to hold accountable. So in a letter of introduction, the person's address of office will be there. The person's qualifications are also there, and their registration number is also there. So that's where you have to start before you can just be dubiously scammed, as you said.
Okay, so now when it comes to receiving the money, there are living expenses, there are fixed and variable costs, and there's money that one needs to put away so that they can live off it. How do you then divide it?
So when people's needs are very different. So a 30-year-old's need will not be the same to a 60-year-old's needs. So maybe, for example, a 30-year-old just started working and probably knows that they will get another job, in a couple of years, in a couple of months. So their investment needs might be more medium to short term, and they might be looking at investment vehicles like unit trusts, for example, or investments that have a 5-year tranche that are more aggressive and are looking to grow their money, versus a 60-year-old on the other side who's thinking, I just got retrenched, but I need this money to sustain me for the rest of my life, which could be another 20, another 30 years. So they will be looking more at investing towards things that will give them a monthly income, like your fixed annuity or a living annuity, but that will also depend on the person's needs per se. And those expenses will be made by the monthly income. Or for the 30-year-old example, they might not need as much and maybe looking more towards growing their capital because their monthly income needs are not as high as that person. So people need to diversify in terms of looking at the short-term risk, medium-term risk, and then long-term risk. And then as well, look at when do I need the money? What happens in the case of an emergency? So COVID and the retrenchment processes themselves have taught us that we need to have an emergency fund. So when you're structuring your investments, always think of an emergency fund to say, if tomorrow I lose my job, if tomorrow there's another national lockdown, where will I get money? How will I get money to pay my monthly expenses? So diversify in any investment approach that you're going to be doing.
No, I really want us to call a spade this time, and I would really want to urge the viewers to listen very carefully. There are so many cases that we deal with when listeners or viewers come to complain about investment scams, and you should see the amounts, especially those who are too trusting. I also want to talk about church investments because that's a place of trust. Many people have been scammed there. Also by their partners, their boyfriends and girlfriends have scammed them and all that. And I really want to be honest with you because we cannot really hold back the punches this time around. Who to speak to when it comes to a reliable and trustworthy investment institution so that there shouldn't be any backlash? I'm talking about even including, churches, pastors with collars who say amen on a Sunday, but people get scammed at the end of the day. Please take us through that.
The first thing about a scam, right, is that desperation. So the pastors you're talking about, they prone on people because we are a people of hope. We are a people of faith. And we are a people really that comes historically from an impoverished background. So a lot of us in South Africa, we're looking for to make our lives better, to make our kids' lives better, so that we don't suffer the same generational curses that our parents suffered. So it's very easy to, when you meet somebody that you love and says, hey, babe, I'll double your money in 1 year, let me do something for you. If you go to church and the pastor says, okay, if you tithe 20%, or if you give us all of your salary, God will bless you abundantly, my child. It's very hard for us to be prone to that. So I think before one makes financial decision, is to get the emotion out of it and get the knowledge into it. Get facts, right? There are a lot of financial services providers out there, and legislation, whether it's an advert in the paper, whether it's an advert on TV, whether it's a telemarketer, even from a call center that's calling you, according to the Financial Services Board, they have to disclose that they are working for an authorized financial services provider, and they also have to disclose that they are registered with the Financial Services Board. So if a person that is helping you with money is not registered with the Financial Services Board, or registered with the FSP, or a registered FSP, then that is the first sure sign to run. Because if something happens to your money, you cannot hold anybody accountable. So the financial ombudsman is the one that's able to hold financial services providers, financial representatives, financial advisors, as well as any other company operating under these licenses accountable. So always, always empower yourself with knowledge. There is information everywhere. Do not rely on social media, because social media is filled with misinformation. Social media is filled with false news. So always verify your information before you just readily consume news you get from Twitter or news you get from Facebook.
Mm-hmm. So now let's talk about the person who has a severance package right now. That person is going to be regarded as a hero. That person is going to be celebrated, and there's going to be central gravitation towards them by family members and friends, expecting them to do something for them, expecting them to even lend them money during this time. Let's talk about the psychological pressure coming from the peers, family members now, who are going to start being demanding on this person who is now under, who's rather under the spotlight, to be one of the richest person in the township.
I mean, Colin, the psychological pressure does not start from the family members first. The first thing you said is that this person is going to be a hero. And when you're a hero, you want to fly, you want to be high, and you want to look down at everybody and say, hey, hoyanko class, and want to show everybody that you can help them. So I think, like I said in the beginning when we started, is that do not make decisions when the money is already in your bank account. Make the decision right now as to how you are going to spend the money. So the decision on how to make a decision right, the first thing is to look at your financial needs. Do I have a mortgage? Do I have a car? My kids' school fees? Do I need to eat? So look at that in the first place. And then avoid having a lump sum in your bank account. I mean, we have things like voluntary investments, where you can put that lump sum in a voluntary investment. It gives you money every single month. And then after 5 years, you get that lump sum back. You can decide what to do with that money. So rather put your money in something like that, because 5 years is a very long time to think of what you can do with the money. So instead of maybe taking that money and paying off a house immediately or buying a car immediately, or also put it in a flexible unit trust. Maybe you might need the money in 3 months or 6 months, but do not have that money in your possession, because once it's there, temptation will be there, and then that's when the need to be a hero, the need to please everybody in the neighborhood will come. So just put the money somewhere, put it in an investment vehicle that allows you to have flexibility in it.
Now, can you believe that before I got into the studio, I got a call from one call center. They said they want to teach me how to invest at the JSE because they've heard that people at the SABC are being retrenched and they have a lot of money, so we should invest at the JSE. Talk to us about that.
I mean, first of all, the audacity, right? To be giving somebody a call to be like, come invest wherever. Do not invest money until you have sat with a financial professional to decide what your financial needs are. Because, Colin, your financial needs will be different to your another colleague who's being retrenched, you know? So some people maybe do not need to be investing money in the JSE. Some people do not be needing to be investing in commodities. I mean, because look at risk. There's different types of risk associated with different types of investments. Some people just want a guarantee. Some people are just happy, you know, having their money grow at 6% in the money market. Some people are just happy. You know, some people are more risk takers. They'll go more aggressive. So to be calling and just saying, okay, I'll go invest because it's the JSE. I mean, there's different types of stocks on the JSE as a platform on its own. So it's very tempting to want to become a hero. I'll use that word again, to want to become a hero and to brag to your friends and tell them that you've invested in the JSE, but without the proper knowledge, you will fail.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine walking around and say, yeah, look at me. I'm investing at the JSE. I mean, I spoke to a stockbroker and I have stocks and I have shares. You know, all that kind of thing is,
and I have shares and you don't even understand what they are.
Exactly, yeah. No, we thank you so much for making time to speak to us. I heard you earlier. You said we must get emotions now out of the picture. And, you know, I was trying so much to hold back the tears. Investment, rather, retrenchment is not really a nice word. I call it the R word. It's not really nice. And I must say that we sympathize with everybody. And we understand that retrenchments are not only unique here at the SABC, but it's everywhere. And of course, as we are talking about this, it's important for us to talk about this. We hope that the advice that you have given will really benefit everybody who has been listening.
Thank you so much, Colin. And I hope that people really do take advice today and that they practical about what they're going to do with their long, hard-worked money, because this is not the lottery. This is that money that people have worked for. And I hope they are very prudent in how they're going to be using it.
Yeah, Mmatli is a professional financial planner with Oracle Brokers, speaking to us right here on SA Today. And